Good morning, everyone, for joining. We are starting in a minute. I can see messages in the chat asking for audio. Maraya, we can start now.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Green Job Series 2.0, Youth for Himalayas. So glad to have so many of you joining us today on this Saturday morning. It's gloomy outside in Delhi, so a perfect time to sit inside and watch the screen for a couple of hours and interact with the panelists of today's session. So this Saturday webinar session is being organized by the Climate Change and Environment Sustainability team of UNICEF India. And we collaborate with a series of partners, including the National Skill Council for Green Jobs, UNEP, UNDP, UWA, WWF India, GIZ India, WRI India, and U-Report India. And if this confuses you because of all these names, you can also see their logos on the screen. So we have received an overwhelming participation and very positive feedback on the first episode that we held 2 weeks ago on the 24th of September. And this was around the theme Youth for Coasts and Islands. And we're going to organize 2 more similar webinars in the series. So the next one is going to be 15 October. So that's going to be next week, Saturday, on the theme of Youth for Cities. And then the last one is on 22nd of October, Youth for Villages. And after the 4 sessions, we'll be having exclusive paid internship opportunities for those successful participants who attend all the sessions with some of the partnering organizations that I mentioned before. We'll also be giving participation certificates to participants who complete the feedback form that we share at the end of each session. So based on the feedback that we received from participants in the previous episode, we made some changes in the program structure. Let me just briefly summarize for you what we are going to do different. So to make the conversation more inclusive, we'll have real-time Hindi translation facilitated by Abhishek, our interpreter, who is also joining us today online. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can actually choose the audio option in the panel. You can choose the original audio, or you can choose English, or you can choose Hindi. So if you're more comfortable with Hindi, feel free to choose Hindi, and you can listen to us live. To keep everyone engaged, we'll also have Q&A sessions after every speaker. So if you have any questions for any of the panelists, please keep posting the questions in the Q&A tab. You'll also see the Q&A tab in the bottom. Please mention the name of the speaker that you would like to ask the question to. Also, we'll have an opinion poll on Mentimeter in between the technical sessions so that we get some feedback from your side too. So we'll have an excellent lineup of speakers for today. We'll be introducing them to you shortly, so I'm not going to take any more time. There's going to be a quiz at the end of the webinar as well, and we'll be using U-Report India, which is a digital platform for this. The top performers will receive merchandise from UNICEF India. And now I'd like to hand it over to Harshita from our digital communication team to introduce U-Report India, the digital platform, to you, and to give you a brief update about the quiz and how you can participate. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today, and over to you, Harshita.
Thank you. I'll share my screen.
Harshida, are you sharing the screen?
Yes, just let me know if it's visible.
Yes, it is visible now.
All right. All right, good morning, everyone. Really excited to be a part of this session and talk about what is YouReport India. So it's a messaging tool that empowers young people to speak out and engage with issues that matter to them. It's available across India and is free and inclusive. Talking about its features, you don't really need any apps to access YouReport India. You can access it on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook Messenger, or Instagram. The content hosted on YouReport is available in 12 Indian languages. You can learn about life skills, career guidance, climate change, etc. on it for free. Once you participate in the programs, there are also some incentives that we offer, like U points and certificates that keep young people engaged on the platform. So here are the different channels through which a young person can sign up on YouReport, either through WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, or Instagram. The audience can also take a photo of this screen, and then they can later on sign up as YouReporters. Once you have accessed the platform through these different channels, all you need to do is go on the chat and type join. Once you type join on the chat, you will be asked your preferred language in which you would want to engage in the conversation. And then 4 simple questions, that is your age, gender, state, and PIN code will be asked. A key feature to note here is that YouReport India is an anonymous platform. We do not collect any personal identifiable information from users who sign up on it. Here are some key interactions that have been hosted on YouReport India. Conversations around life skills. So there are tasks that will help a young person learn how to build self-confidence, how to decide a career that's best suited for them, how to manage your time better, how to study effectively, and many more. So once you have signed up on the platform, you can just type Fundu on the chat to access the different tasks that are available. Secondly, there are also conversations on career guidance on YouReport that will help you understand how you can write an effective CV, a cover letter, how to prepare for an interview, and also the different internships that you can apply for. So you can just send career bot and the content will be available to you. Thirdly, we've also had conversations on climate change, and the previously held Green Jobs series videos will also be available to you. You only need to send green bot on the YouReport India chat. So these are the different incentives that we offer our YouReporters, honoring them for their engagement and participation in different conversations on YouReport India. So on a periodic basis, we send them gifts. Then at the end of different conversations, we also issue them certificates. There are U points, digital badges, and in some cases, we also invite them to attend national and international events. So at the end of this session, there'll be a quiz, and basis the scores of that quiz, we'll shortlist top 10 young people who will then win amazing gifts from UNICEF. So hope you stay tuned till the end of the session to know what it is. Over.
Harshida, just one clarification. people are typing join from in the Zoom chat. So maybe you can go to that slide, that particular slide with the messaging platforms where they
Yes.
have to, yeah, maybe you can explain this a bit more.
Yes, yes, sure. So you just need to open WhatsApp. You can first just save this number, +91 9650 414141 as you report India on your phones. Once you save this number, you can go to WhatsApp. And it will be listed as one of your contacts. So then when you just open the chat and you type in join there, the registration process will start for you. And questions like what is your age, gender, state, and PIN code will be asked. After answering these questions, you'll receive a message saying that you're now a U reporter and you have 120 U points for registering on U report. After this confirmation message, if you send hi again on the same chat, you will see the U Report India menu, wherein all the latest conversations that are happening on U Report will be listed. And you can then go ahead and explore the different conversations. Similarly, for the other platforms on Facebook Messenger, if that's your preferred medium, you need to go on Messenger and search for ureport.india, open the chat, send join, and the registration process will be the same as we just spoke about is on WhatsApp. Similarly for Telegram and Instagram.
So we will come back to your report again in between the sessions and also before the quiz at the end. So we request everyone to stay tuned in and also to stay online. Mia, over to you. Thanks, Harshida, for that wonderful explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hashita. Nitin, if you can start sharing the screen, I can go. But good morning, everybody. How's it going? So many amazing responses flooding the chat. I'm so loving this. Maybe before we begin, thanks again, Mariah. Thanks again, Harshita. We had a wonderful welcome and we did receive a couple of instructions. So I'm going to go back to them and, just recap and then go forward with whatever is waiting for you next. So many interesting surprises, trust me. So the first thing is, if you have any questions for the panelists and the speakers here, they're going to be amazing. Please do drop it in the Q&A. And if the question is for a specific person, you can write their names. For example, Mr. Gopinath is here, so you can write Mr. Gopinath and your question. But if it's for all the panelists, you can write all panelists, all speakers, and then put your question. And so all your speakers will have 15 minutes one-on-one discussion. And then the last 5 minutes will be dedicated for questions. So again, you get the chance to interact with them. We'll have a panel discussion. So if by any means, your question was not answered, we'll get back to it. So don't worry. And always have fun. This is an opportunity to learn and have fun. We hope that will happen right now. Let's move to our first speaker. I see a lot of questions. Maybe one of our, somebody from our team will definitely address it. Don't worry. So the very first session we have for you is to help you understand the science of climate change, vulnerabilities and extreme weather events, impacts on agriculture sector. We have Professor Dr. A.K. Gosain. Mr. Gosain, Dr. Gosain is a professor emeritus in the Civil Engineering Department, IIT Delhi, and his area of research includes water resources engineering, climate change, water security, AI, ML, and GIS technologies. Professor Gosain pioneered the climate change impact and vulnerability assessment on Indian water resources that was incorporated in the national communications made to the UNFCCC. He has been conferred with the Global Excellence Award 2021 in water sector by the Energy and Environment Foundation and has served as a head of the Civil Engineering Department and Computer Science Center of IIT Delhi. He's also the director of INRM Consultants, a company incubated by IIT Delhi. Professor Dr. A.K. Gosain, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ikita. I'm trying to share the screen, is not allowing me. Can you give me the permission?
Yeah, just a minute. Naveenji, if you could do that, that would be amazing.
I think since you are sharing the screen, you have to come off that. Now I think it should be. I think he's asking me to go for some open system preferences. Can you share my slides from your side?
Sir, are you able to share the screen? Otherwise, we can share
No,
it.
I think you'll have to do that because it's asking for some system preferences and those things.
I can do it.
Maybe I can start. Let me say a very good morning to all the young researchers and young people who have shown interest in this very important topic. I've been asked to give you this very complex topic in a layman's language. So I'll try to do my best to make sure that I send home some important messages about this whole topic of climate change and the associated areas. So what I'll do is that I'll try to give you what the climate change is all about, when it started, what we do with the climate models. Are you in a position to put my screen, my slides?
Yes, sir, I'm sharing it. I'm sharing
Okay.
it.
Okay. So basically, this whole affair of climate change started somewhere around late 70s, when the first climate model came into existence. And you may want to know that what the climate model is. So you know that we have an atmosphere around the globe, around the Earth. The people started simulating the whole processes, which are very highly complex processes, and they try to represent that in a mathematical representation. All the aspects, all the process of atmosphere, how it interacts with the land phase, land surface, ocean, and sea, and what are their interactions. These models were built with a very coarse resolution, which is around 250 to 600 kilometers grid imposed on the globe. And then they worked out how the various parameters, for example, if the atmosphere is heating up, is warming up, how the whole other temperatures will change, of course, but along with that, other associated aspects of precipitation, which is very important, the land phase of the hydrological cycle will change. And then when people started looking at that, they found that when you try to impose those things on the landmass, it is a very coarse grid. Can we come out with more regional climate models? That what is the implication when we look at larger areas, when the smaller areas, and we have a higher resolution? So the resolution was brought down to around 50 kilometers, and that is even now all the regional climate models, they are having that kind of resolution where you downscale the GCMs, the global climate models, to RCM using two typical approaches, dynamic or statistical downscaling. So I won't go into that, but in the end result, what you can understand is that these models give you what will be the fate of the weather conditions if you project them over the next, over the end of the century. And that is the output which these models provide you as researchers on a daily scale. That right now, what is the situation? And when we go in future, how the temperature, how the precipitation, how the other parameters like relative humidity and all those associated parameters which are connected with the atmospheric circulation will also change. And that is something which had started the whole debate, that when people started using these models, and as of now, there are around 29 different models, the GCM models, which are available, and in the IPCC, they are reporting their results. So most of these models are having a similarity in terms of the physics, but since it's a conceptual translation of the physics, they vary to a certain extent from each other. That is why when you look at the output of or the projections of one model and compare it with the other model, it might not be exactly matching. And that is the uncertainty. And then also people wanted to have the projections based on what will be the fate of emissions. And that is where the different scenarios came in. So people have been using different scenarios, and the latest scenarios are the RCPs, representative concentration pathways. And they are called RCPs. There are 4 different RCPs, which it means is that if we remain The business as usual is still on whatever emissions we are producing right now. If we continue with that, what will be the fate by the end of the century and over this period till the end of the century? That is what is being given by these models. So we have done analysis, and this particular site which you are seeing, we have analyzed all these projections for India, and they are available with many different kinds of analysis done on the past historical data, also on the future data, which will provide you very good information in terms of what are the trends of different parameters. For example, if you're looking at temperature, the minimum temperature or the maximum temperature or the precipitation, what kind of story it tells you as a user for the future. And that becomes the basis of all your adaptation options or all your preparations to cope with the climate change implications. So this part, I won't spend too much time. You can go, all those people who are interested, they can go to this web portal, and it has wealth of information. This was made in collaboration with GIZ, and we are still maintaining this site. This is a free site. Anybody can go and register yourself and look at all these parameters and the analysis as well, and be benefited. Next, please. So in this, we have used different climate extreme indices on precipitation, on temperatures, because from different angles, if you're looking at the agricultural impacts, you might need to know that what is the phenology of the crop and which conditions the crop will grow in a better manner. And then accordingly, you like to know that what is the implication going to be of the changing temperatures or the changing conditions on the yields of the crop, which you need to really decide whether the crops will sustain that kind of the weather conditions or not. Similarly, we have also done the analysis using different models, RCM models. There are around 10 models which we have analyzed using different scenarios. RCP 4.5, which is a moderate emission scenario, meaning that if you bring down the emissions, then what will be the impact of that lower emissions on the future climate? And if you keep the comparatively high greenhouse gas emissions, that is scenario RCP 8.5. So all that analysis is available to you. Next. We have also divided this whole thing into different periods. The baseline is the present, then near term, mid-century, mid-term, and century. So that, and different seasons. There's a huge lot of information which is available, and many people are already using this information. Next. This is again the slide shows that what kind of options we have provided as an interactive tool, and you can look at the vulnerabilities. You can look at what is the extremes. Any kind of analysis you want to do is possible to see that what is the impact of the climate change on that landmass. It's done on a district basis. It's done on the basins level also. So there are various ways by which you can view this. Next. Now then, this is also a depiction of the Himalayan portion, that what will mean when you look at with one scenario for the future and compare it with the present situation, how the change is going to occur for scenario 4.5 and scenario 8.5 for the same area, and how much is the change in temperature, the maximum temperature and the minimum temperature. Next is the minimum temperature. Now, having come to this, no, go to the next one. Having come to this level, the next requirement is that what it implies when we look at the impacts of these changes on the different sectors. For example, water is the most important sector which is going to be impacted. And then because of the water, there are other sectors which are going to be impacted. For example, agriculture is going to be impacted. Your ecology is going to be impacted. So we have done the analysis using for this kind of analysis, you need to mimic the nature when it interacts with the landmass. So the hydrological models is the only way to really ascertain what will be the implication of the climate change on any landmass by imposing those conditions which you have projected on the present landmass, and then translating that into that if now this much rainfall is going to occur in future with the temperatures which are going to be different, what will be the impact on the water resources? What will be the impact on the flows? What will be the impact on the soil moisture? So these models mimic all the natural processes, and that is what we first validate these models as per the present conditions, and then once they are validated, we use it for the future. Next. The kind of data which you need for these models, you need the terrain, you need the land use, you need the soil variation, you need the weather for the present or the past historical simulations, and for the future, you need the projected series of data which comes from the RCMs, and you validate the model by using the observed stream flows which are taken by the Central Water Commission. For example, in Yamuna, if I know that at a location in Yamuna at Delhi, this is a flow which is taking place, and I get the same flow by simulating the Yamuna as a basin and looking at if this much rainfall has come, how much flow will be generated and will be received at Delhi. If I get this same flow, which is observed actually by the Central Water Commission from the model, then I say that the model is behaving very well and is validated. Next. So from those models, we now can get all the hydrological components. And this is what is shown here, that I can translate that in this Himalayan region, what will be the monsoon drought weeks, how much they were earlier in the past historical situation, how much they are going to increase in the future. So I can exactly know that which are the locations which are going to be having more drought-like situations. Next. Similarly, I can also analyze the future situation with respect to the extreme flows, the floods. And here, wherever you are seeing the red, it means that these are the areas which are going to be more under threat in the future situation under different scenarios. And that is quantified and is made available to the different users, different stakeholders. Next. Again, the agricultural water stress. So you can, because you have now, by simulating the through the hydrological models, you have all the water, whether it's available in the soil, whether it's flowing in the streams, whether it's the evapotranspiration, how much evapotranspiration will increase, and the total water balance is obtained through these models. Next. Again, this is the components of the water balance. You have the precipitation, surface runoff, base flow, evapotranspiration, groundwater recharge. So and we have shown some of them, but everything what the nature is doing to the landmass is available through these models. Next. Now, I think the last two slides. Now, having done this, now we are ready to really come out with the climate risk assessment. And this is what is the overall the procedure, how you need to really incorporate the climate and identify what is the climate risk in different areas. So you have to first get the information, what I have already mentioned to you, and then the system of interest, which sector you are looking at, and then try to identify those hotspots. For example, if I'm looking at the agriculture as a sector, the models also give me the assessment of the biomass, the simulation of the biomass, I'm showing a particular crop. And when I impose the water stress and the nutrient stress and the temperature stress on it, I know that how much will be the impact on the yield. So that is the assessment for the future conditions, which are the crops which are not going to sustain that kind of situation. Similarly, if I'm talking of the human beings or the livestock, I know that what will be the heat index. So I can evaluate that. So then you can identify the risk and evaluate the risk tolerance and then come out with the adaptation options. Next. So finally, you have to really basically look at what is the natural variability, what is the anthropogenic climate change impact, because all the man-made actions are also having their own impact. That has to be really identified and separated. And then you have to see that what is the exposure of that particular to that particular parameter in the local landmass. There might be no exposure because nobody is staying there. There's no and it's a barren land, so there might be no exposure. So risk will be very low. But if you have people who are occupying that landmass, then you have to have a high exposure. So this is an intersection of hazard, exposure, and vulnerability, through which you come out with different indices and identify that what is the risk and along with the vulnerability of different areas to different exposures. Next. This is one example of a Kulu area, that how you really identify in different blocks because of the in the baseline and in the mid-century, how the livelihood index and the livelihood hazard index and livelihood risk index will be having the different values, and also the infrastructure risk index, the infrastructure hazard index. All these things become possible, and you can start playing with those things. Next, in the last slide, I think. So I think in this, what I'm trying to convey to you is that this is highly complex thing. We have to be very careful in using these outcomes, and the interaction between these different sectors is very important to be brought in. And when you talk of the disaster risk reduction strategies, you might use the early warning system, you might use the proper land use planning, with these outcomes of these information bases which we have generated after using those, and then come out with the sustainable ecosystem and land management policies, and look at the reliability of the infrastructure, how you can save your infrastructure after knowing that how much will be the exposure of the infrastructure to different hazards. And the community awareness can also be brought in by disseminating these things. So I think this is what is the whole gamut of the total the climate and related associated aspects, which is very important to really understand and use very, very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That was absolutely amazing and really, really interesting. We have lots of questions for you, but in the interest of time, maybe let's look into 2 or 3 and then get the rest of the questions for the panel discussion. So one of the questions that is specifically directed for you is, have you done any soil erosion mapping which happens due to this water flow calculations due to anthropogenic climate change? If so, where can we find those resources?
Yes, we have done the impact of climate change on the water resources in both the communications made so far. And one aspect is also because we have the series, the rainfall series and daily series, and using the models, we have generated the outputs showing that which are the areas where the soil erosion will take place and how much will take place. We have the quantification also, so that you can indulge in the restoration of practices of the soil by making by maybe doing the afforestation and those kind of things. But I will share with you one of the papers which gives all these details, which is a paper in the current science journal, and maybe I'll share with you, and then you can in turn share with the other members.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And one more question. From which institutions did you learn about climate modeling way back in the 1990s? Do we need to take any particular course in university to learn about GIS modeling for climate change? And also for the young people here, can you give us some inspiration regarding the courses that they could do? Not necessarily a degree, but small courses that they could look into.
Yes, this is basically, I did my master's in water resources and then continued with my PhD in water resources at IIT Delhi. And that was 70s. And I had done the modeling at that time, the hydrological modeling of the river basin, the Yamuna River Basin. So that is part of my training. And when the government of India was trying to search who can be the person who can help them in making this communication and handle the water sector, because they had tried approaching the Sand Water Commission and other organizations. Then they identified me, and then they called me, and I made a presentation to them in Yadavpur University, and that was 1999. And they asked me to do this work, because basically once you have the modeling framework, then you are imposing the weather conditions of the future. That is the only way you can know what will be the implication to the water. So they said that, okay, this is the first communication, do only one basin. I said that you leave it to me. So within around 8 months, because of this extended group, we did all the basins of the country and made that available to the Ministry of Environment and Forest. And it went as the communication to the UN. So we have, I think I can say that our group is the pioneer in this aspect of climate change. And we have provided a lot of other things, which I think if the time permits, I'll also share what we have done recently, which is very useful for the country.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Gussain. Maybe there's tons of questions more for you. People are really, really interested. Maybe we can take all that during the panel discussion. You'll have a busy time then.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Nitin, if we can share the screen, let's go to the next speaker for all of you, who is also another exciting person. Just to give you a quick introduction about who he is, Mr. Nishant, who will be our next speaker, is a nature enthusiast, a photographer, and a writer who quit his 15-year-old job as a producer in a leading English news channel to pursue his passion for nature and wildlife conservation. He's an avid nature photographer who writes poetry and prose that focus on nature and conservation, and uses his website, nishantphotoarc.com, and other social media channels to encourage people to observe and conserve nature. His articles and poems have been featured on multiple websites like Lonely Conservationalist, Science Next Door, The Falls Trail, Kate on Conservation, Spillworth, Conservation Optimism, East Mojo, etc. Mr. Nishant, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mia, for giving this introduction. And thank you. Good morning, everyone. I will share my screen right now. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So hi everyone, I am Nishant Venugopal, a nature enthusiast, and this presentation is actually about my journey, that is finding the expression to my passion. So in this, it is a journey from observer to author. I hope the screen is changing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is working perfectly.
Okay, thank you very much. So at first, during my journey, I was just a photographer. So that gave me an opportunity to get connected with Citizen Science Initiative. What is actually citizen science? It is an opportunity for the public to record species, and then they can put that data so that the researchers can learn about the habitats and the presence of species in various area. So now this elongated tortoise, which is a critically endangered species, a tortoise species, I came to know about it through this organization called Freshwater Turtles and Tortoise of India, and I put the image in India Biodiversity Portal. So it is a record, and it helps them to locate these species and know their habitat and learn more about them. It is also necessary as an author to read and believe. So now I have shared few examples of some of the books that actually I have read. It is actually also a kind of connection that you need to make with the reader. It should be spiritual and also cultural. So now in this, an account of journey made by Peter Matthiessen and conservational biologist George Schaller to Tibet, that is the snow leopard. Similarly, there is cultural references exploring the human and animal relationship and environmental anthropology by Radhika Govindarajan, Animal Intimacy. It is also related to Himalayan region. But what inspired me first was this book by Dr. A.J.T. Johnson, who had done a journey through hills and mountains of Uttarakhand following Jim Corbett's trail. Most of the people will know who Jim Corbett is. That helped me to lead to this organization called Wildlife Institute of India. I did a wildlife enthusiast course over there, and also during their course, which was 5 days of course inside their prestigious institution campus and 5 days field study, I was able to understand various intricacies of conservation biology. My background was physics. It was completely different from what I am doing right now. But as I said, there are 4 T's that you must keep in mind. One of them is training. So you need to upskill yourself. And this is one of the steps that I took to upskill myself. Then during this journey, I came across various bird species. One of them is this great slaty woodpecker, which is the largest woodpecker in Indian subcontinent and said to be one of the largest around the world. Their habitat, their nesting really gave me a thought. How important is old growth forests are. So that's why even though we see some of them in our own area, in cities, the connection that these birds have with these forests, I tried to write it down in this poem, which was published in Science Next Door, Pecking, Chiseling, and Drumming. These are actually behavior patterns of these woodpeckers. So by connecting their behavior, I tried to get a connect with reader. Now, there is milestones in this journey. As I told you, I first started as a traveler. So you can see over here, it was just enjoyment. Then it transformed into volunteering, that is involvement, where I was part of WWF India, and in that I was with 2 main projects of theirs. One was volunteer movie making and the other one was Ek Prithvi. In Ek Prithvi, I used to go with school children, take them to nature trails in and around their area and try to explain conservation to them through their own experiences. Then came communicator, which is I am right now, and I am trying to write and share all this experience through that was part of my journey to others through prose and poetry. Now, there was one question that I had in mind. One of the key reasons of biodiversity crisis is lack of awareness. Like you can see over here, most of the people even now do not know that Indian species of parakeets are protected by Wildlife Protection Act of India. So what happens is that a caged bird that you see in your household or nearby anywhere is actually going through all these turmoil, turbulence before it reach that household. So I just want to connect it. I want to find that and tell others that this is the natural habitat of these birds. You can see blue-winged parakeet, which is also known as Malabar parakeet, and then the common rose-ringed parakeet. From south to north, wherever I have traveled in India, I try to capture these animals free, wild, and also without fear in their habitats. So trying to find that missing piece, how to connect them. So I am sharing here a quote from a wildlife camera person whose name is Jim Bredenberg. It is also in the portion of a book called The Wisdom of Wolves by L.H. Ridingen, which says, if you want to persuade people for something, we have to come through the back door. So going through the back door is a difficult task where you have to balance two things. One is the fact and also the imagination. And you have to work in an emotional plane because that emotional plane is where the readers get connected. Also, there is a communication conundrum that I generally experience. One is reaction versus response. If you see something that is intimidating in the social media handles, you can say anything. The first response will be to react. But I felt that some of the times the reaction in social media is governed by emotions and it has lesser impact and it is destructive to creativity. That is our own creativity. But if you look at one thing, that is response, which is based on emotional intelligence. Why emotional intelligence? You have to ask how and what is the benefit of reacting to this? How it is useful? What will be the benefit if you do so? And you have to get a desired outcome. And it is only possible if you respond. So response, you have to continuously do these practices. That is to read regularly, to listen to others, listen to nature, to observe nature, keep writing, keep journaling without editing. Everybody, when they write, they should remember that it is not necessary that it has to be clear and without mistake. There will be mistake. There is time to correct it, but you must put across your thoughts somewhere in paper or in laptop, because otherwise you will lose the track. And also discuss with people. So there was a viral video of a kid and a bear cub, which I saw in an important social media handle of a news article. So there were reaction to it. Like you can see most of the people were saying how cute it is. I want a bear cub like this, etc. Which is actually detrimental to the wildlife because such videos can create people to think that wildlife can be tamed. So I really tried to take research on this and wrote a small article called Not So Cute Truth about wildlife viral video. You might see a lot of such videos that has been sent to you as forwards. So be prepared. Now I think that you will understand the danger of it. So before you send it, you must think. That is the second T. First was train, the second one was T, that is think. And so similarly, I wrote a poem about parakeets also because to ensure that people be aware of the fact that parakeets, that is Indian species of parakeets, are not supposed to be kept as pets. Awareness is the key. So I am trying to share this awareness through social media. Similarly, it's about teaching animals and feeding them. So Himalayan mammoth in Ladakh, I have seen some incident. So I tried to share these writings so that people get an idea that wild animals are free, and they are not to be teased or fed by human things because it actually changed their behavior and even caused health issues. Also, this image is very important for me. I told you that I was a volunteer. So I was in WWF India. There was a conference room called Soccer Room. I saw these images of black neck crane over there, and I felt that one day I will be there. In 2016, I was there in WWF India, and in 2017, I went to Ladakh. So this was a dream come true for me. So after that, reading about them, I try to write how climate change and other human activities is trying to destroy the habitat of these birds because they are susceptible, they are vulnerable to minor changes. If you look at Ladakh, there is not much of population over there. So whatever we do in other part of the world is affecting such remote places. Then came the pandemic crisis. You see, as a traveler, for me, it was just like a sudden break. I was not able to go anywhere and I had to sit in home. But thankfully, I trusted. That is the third T, trust, my instinct. So I started working on nature in and around me. Thankfully, I saw this bird, rosy sterling, which is a migratory species, and also this Indian oak blue, a butterfly, which was colorless. But when I was moving through my society, I saw this butterfly and tried to capture a photo of it. I came to know from butterfly enthusiasts in Delhi, this was the first recorded image of this species in Delhi. Maybe it was a luck, maybe it was a chance, but for me, it was an inspiration. So here is a poem which I say, life and learning from nature. This is a hobby that you have any time in the year. Age is not an issue, whether you are older or younger. All that is needed is your attentive eyes and ears and open mind to accept whatever nature offers. From the balcony garden to protected habitats that you can reach, look out for the mysteries and lessons that nature can teach. Now we come to social media. Because I was from news background, I have been handling a lot of social media work. So there is definitely social media marketing, and most of the people know social media monitoring that focuses on specifically on campaign, institution, and branding. But there is another thing called social media listening. It is observing the patterns and trends of social media. What is the benefit of social media listening? It helps you to collaborate, to source information, to cross-check information, and look for special days. Like you can see, September 25th was World Rivers Day. I wrote 2 poems, and the theme of the World Rivers Day was the importance of rivers to biodiversity. So taking up otter, that is smooth-throated otter, one of the species in our rivers, and also mahasip, one of the important fish species in the northern plain, or you can see in the Himalayan region. I tried to share the awareness about these species and how important rivers are to be clean and to be unobstructed in many cases for their survival. Now, collaboration also helps. As a photographer, I was able to share my photos with various organizations, and Savers finally selected me as photographer of the month for March 2020, and my interview was published there. Similarly, through the social media, I came to know about an organization called Wildlife Blogger Crowd. So the Cape Town Conservation, who handles Wildlife Blogger Crowd, they featured me as one of the 100 wildlife bloggers, and also shared one of my posts, that is In Search of Tiger, in their website. These all help you to increase your audience and generate a confidence in you as a writer. Now, social media is a powerful tool, but as the famous quote goes, with power comes responsibility, which many of the people are not aware of. So you use hashtag, you use it for your personal purposes. But for me, as a nature enthusiast, I want to share conservation initiative. Why? Because of this quote by Baba Dioum, a Senegalese conservationist. In the end, we conserve only what we love only what we understand, and we understand only what we thought. So teaching is our responsibility. We have lot of gadgets. We have lot of knowledge. Only thing is that where to place it is what we need to understand. So placing your story, as finance people say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Same case is with writing. You have to diversify. There are a lot of websites name mentioned over here, and I have shared this material with others also, so you will get it. So these are places who have their own criteria, their own agenda. So when you write it, either when you write for them, you keep their agenda in mind, or through discussion, you create the writing of yours to their favor. So this is how you try to place your story in various places. Now it is also important that you keep your mental health too, because for me, I started my journey, or I took this leap of faith in during my midlife. So I had a very safe job, as everybody say, but I took my calling, but we were not prepared for pandemic. So there were a lot of things that I have to face. So I thought about it and started writing. Writing became my catharsis. And in the end, one of my writing got published in The Secret Life of Conservationists, which is a collection of prose by people from all different parts of the world. Also, apart from that, I continued my photography. So I was a guest editor for UN Biodiversity. Then I told you I started as an observer for citizen science. Later on, when I found that there is CITSA India conference, I tried to put this idea that you can use writing to promote citizen science initiative. And they took my proposal, they helped my presentation. So last two of my placards go like this. One is this one: those who dwell as scientists or laymen among the beauties and the mysteries of the earth are never alone or weary of life. Whatever the vexations or concerns of your personal lives, their thoughts can find paths that lead to inner contentment and renewed excitement in living. This is by Rachel Carson. I would suggest you read some of her work. It will be a great inspiration to you. And thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier, and this Mark Twain quote goes, continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. So write for yourself, improve and adapt according to trends, always welcome constructive criticism, and finally, keep learning. Thank you very much for hearing my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nishad. That was absolutely amazing. We have a couple of questions for you. So in the interest of time, maybe we'll take one or two, and then the rest we can do it during the panel discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So the first question that we have for you is, so is there any internship or volunteering opportunities that you know that young people can take up, be it in any organization, mostly conservation and environment related? And how should we approach them?
Yeah, first of all, since I was a WWF intern, there is something called, they have a volunteer project. You can go to their handle, WWF India Volunteers. So you will get to know volunteer opportunities. Apart from that, in my social media handles or whatever handle that I am or writing, I do promote some of the opportunities that come. Keep tab of it, and as I told you, you have to, as I told you, the social media listening comes into favor here. Go to every organization and try to follow them. So they will share their opportunities nowadays through social media. That is the place where you will get all the details. There are a lot of organizations who are giving interning and volunteer opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much. I have one more question for you. So this is from Gaurav. Can you explain the importance of language, especially in writing and reading and all that? So you spoke a lot about reading and writing. So can you help us understand the importance of language and the opportunities that come with having a good communication skill?
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav, for this question. Yes, language is quite important, but if you ask me, 5 years ago when I was working as a producer in news channel, somebody asked me to write, I would say I am not a writer. But it is my passion that gave me the source to write, inspiration. So you need to have passion to whatever that you are writing. If you are writing just for money, maybe your skills are good, but it won't get a connect with people. So that their language is important. And now there are a lot of tools in the technology itself that will correct you if you have made some mistakes. And I am also very much keen on people writing on their local languages. That is very important nowadays. So whichever state you are, whichever local language you are, if you have proficiency, kindly write in that too. That also have a niche nowadays.
Thank you so much. There is an interesting question here. How do people from underprivileged background become volunteers, as these opportunities usually need us to have resources?
Yeah, actually, in most of the cases, the opportunities, first you have to see if it is in your area. If it is nearby your area, it is easier for you to communicate with them and express your desire to be a volunteer. And also, if you have tools, like nowadays, most of the people have phone. That's why I'm telling you, social media is a powerful communication tool and it is useful for collaboration. So if you don't have it, your institution might have it. So you can create clubs, nature clubs, or sort of clubs which your passion is about, and try to circulate the information between. Now WhatsApp is also there. So WhatsApp can also be a medium. So one thing, most of the organizations are now inclusive. It is not necessary that you have to have a kind of command over language or should be from a particular region to get this volunteer opportunity. What really means is that your ability to understand, your ability to work hard. If you are okay with that, then you will definitely get an opportunity, and keep observing. Keep your eyes and ears open.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Nishant. That was absolutely amazing. There were a few more questions. We'll definitely take that up during the panel discussion. It was brilliant.
Okay, thank you. Stop sharing.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have another interesting speaker. I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Gopinath. Mr. Gopinath is a very, very interesting person, and many of you will love his journey. He's a social entrepreneur and a responsible tourism pioneer working in sustainable tourism and disaster management since 2004. He founded the multi-award-winning responsible and experiential traveling company, the Blue Yonder, to promote unique river valley civilization of Nila in Kerala. He's also founder of many different organizations and ventures, and the co-founder and director of Resilient Destinations Foundation, designed to develop CRCRD. Mr. Gopinath, the floor is yours.
Okay, could you please allow me to share my screen?
Yeah, just a minute. Can you check if you are already allowed? I think you are.
I'm not. Oh yeah,
Okay.
now it is. No,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me just disconnect the screen. Okay. Okay, screen is visible?
It is.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so this is basically my background. I have done masters in computer management. I've done an MBA from ENPC and then disaster management masters. And all this is actually not because I was super sure about what I wanted to do with my life. It was more out of confusion. But so that's what I'm kind of trying to share with you. So my career.
Mr. Gopinath,
Yes.
excuse me. Can you share it once again, because your screen is a little blurry?
Can you see?
And can you share it again, because we can't
Okay.
actually catch the words. But in the meantime, please feel free to share your story, because we'd love to listen to you.
Okay. Sharing it once more. Just let me know if it's visible. Can you hear? Can you see me? Can you see the screen?
It's not clear yet.
Okay, I don't know what to do. Okay, don't worry. I'll just speak about it.
Yeah.
So basically what I was, but am I audible?
Yeah,
Yeah,
crystal
okay.
clear.
Okay, so my background is I have masters in disaster management. I've done a master's in business administration and computer management. But actually my journey started in 1993 as a volunteer at the world's first community-based palliative care center in the district of Calicut in Kerala. So a couple of doctors, they came together, they set up the first pain and palliative care clinic with an idea of providing relief to patients who are struggling from cancer or HIV or terminal illness, or people who are confined to bed for a long time. So we all our volunteers, we were basically trying to make life very different and bring in quality of life as well as quality of death to people who were there. And one thing that I learned about crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, collaboration, it all started at this place. And then I was a full-time volunteer for about 3 years at the Pain and Palliative Care Society in Calicut. And then afterwards, after my studies, this is what happened in 2004. Interestingly, immediately after my master's in disaster management, instead of going into the disaster management space or humanitarian space, I launched India's first responsible travel company in 2000 called the Blue Yonder. So the Blue Yonder has won, actually I don't remember exactly, but maybe 40 plus national and international awards. We were featured in like Condé Nast Traveler, Guardians, and almost all travel magazines in the world, including some in India. So the whole idea of the Blue Yonder was about how do you create better places for people to visit? So there are so many tourist destinations, but what about the quality of life of the local people? This was the constant question that we were asking. So we came to this whole conclusion that if you have a great place for people to live, that place becomes an attractive space for people to visit as well. So you need a place to live so that you have a place to visit. So it was never the other way around. We were not talking about building a tourist business so that some benefits of that tourism will go to the community, but it was the other way around. We wanted the community to be very resilient community, to be having opportunities where the economic impact can clearly be documented, where the socio-cultural impacts can also create a change in people's life, and to see how a travel business can actually create positive environment impact, considering the amount of carbon greenhouse gas emission that comes out of the tourism industry. These are areas that we were really focusing on. And let me try to see if I can show you a video.
So he started.
Can you see the video?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me know if you can't hear it, okay?
Lady groups. The ladies are doing this work now.
So this is one among hundreds of travel experiences that we offer. But one thing that is special about the Blue Yonder, my travel company experiences, is that every experience that you as a traveler come across, there is a beautiful story behind it. There's a sustainable development project behind it. There might be an initiative on conservation. So we put together all this sustainable development activities beautifully tweaked into travel experiences that is consumable by the travel industry, that's consumable by travelers. So the beauty, again, of this is the fact that travel need not be just about visiting a place. It's something where it becomes very transformational, where you can literally touch people's lives. So this particular photo that I showed you, the video that I showed you, this is about a musical trail. Like, we started in a one room with one teacher and two students, but now that was in 2005. And now by 2022, we have 800 plus students learning music. And those people who cannot afford to pay for it, they are welcome to continue the studies, because this is where the travel business comes into the picture. We fund the teachers, we fund the salary, we contribute money into the school. So now our partners have approximately 22 schools all around.
Gopi,
Yes.
are you sharing the PPT now?
No.
Okay.
I was just giving you a background of that video. Okay. And then I think I'm also good you asked me, because it's stuck. Okay, so this is how the musical trail started. And okay, I have a small problem in here, but let me. Okay, so after this travel experiences, now in 2022, we put together so many hundreds of projects. But now, in the 20 years of being in the business, one thing that struck us the most is that we came across at least 10 major natural disasters, all of them, except for the one in Nepal earthquake, all directly scientifically proven to be linked to climate crisis. So we came across Cyclone Aila in Sundarbans, where we were running an initiative. Then we came across the heavy floods and rains that happened in Chennai and Pondicherry and the surrounding area. 2018, we had the floods in Kerala. 2019, we had the floods in Kerala. So this made us think about a scenario. How can a destination, how can a group of people or community, if they are not resilient to the climate crisis, how can they overcome the ensuing disasters that are going to flow? In the past, it was all about, you would hear about a disaster happening somewhere else in the world. Now, all of a sudden, this has hit our home. It's happening all around. Whether you are in India or in Europe, it's a reality that people are talking about it. It's no longer about something that the scientists were talking about. It's something that's hitting the people. But how do you build the resilience is the question. When a disaster like what happened in Kerala in 2018, where 450 people died and the government was running around here and there looking for $5 billion to rebuild Kerala in a better way. So I want to share one small example with you about what we actually did as a group when the floods happened. Okay, let me just share a video. There you go. In August 2018, we experienced a once in 100 years deluge. For a few days, it was fun. By mid-August, incessant rain forced rivers to breach and mudslides from the mountains. Then came the flood. Chenamangalam, the weaving community of more than 300 families saw their livelihoods washed away. Looms, properties, stock, drowned under the water up to 12 feet deep. Piles of stinking soil clothes lay strewn behind the weaving units and along the village road. Where most saw devastation, social entrepreneurs Lakshmi and Gopi saw opportunities. This is where the story of Chekutis began. Through crowdsourcing, 50,000 volunteers in 9 countries upcycled the ruined clothes into 120,000 plus Chekutis. 360 dolls out of each worthless sari. Selling the Chekutis raised the much needed funds for the weavers. They also captured the mood of the time. A beacon of resilience and solidarity shown by our people during the flood. This child from the village of Chenamangalam was someone we all could relate to. It had stains. It didn't pretend another perfect world at all. It was us. They are used as gifts, decorations, luggage tags and lanyards, as workshop tool for children affected by trauma, as a memory to hold on to, as a reminder of the height we reached as a humanity. The Chekutis are still young, but they are growing, sharing new stories of supporting the underprivileged with dignity, and telling the world that Kerala isn't just only God's own country. It's also a land of Chekutis. Because this isn't just a story of one village, it's the beginning of 35 million stories, all from one place. A place called Kerala. So this is about the little doll that we brought together during the during the floods, soon after the floods. Now, what is special about this particular initiative is, like, if you look at a disaster, you look at an incident that's part of the natural disasters, it's always a combination of government, you have a combination of NGOs, INGOs, UN agencies all working together. Now, if you want to see some money, cash, from the UN, it's almost like it's never going to happen. Like, you have to wait 9 months, maybe 3 years to get something to be processed and reach in the ground. I'm aware that I'm speaking at the UNICEF India-led panel, but this is the reality. Now, but when it comes to NGOs or when it comes to INGOs, it's always very process-driven, nothing wrong in it. But in time of crisis, what the local community needs is money, cash on time. Not tomorrow, but yesterday. But this urgency is not shown in the humanitarian sector. Now, if you take the whole humanitarian sector globally, if you look at it, it's roughly about $30 billion business. But if you take the tourism industry, it's $8 trillion business. Now, whatever is needed by the humanitarian sector during a crisis, whether you are talking about the knowledge of supply chain management, whether it's about transportation, logistics, you take F&B, you take accommodation, and the ability for the tour operators to raise funds because the network that we have. And more than that, the amazing skill sets that is there as human resources. You know, we move people much quicker than anybody. Every day we meet challenging travelers. So we are very good crisis managers, you know. So how do we make sure that we bring this talents and skill sets and resources in the tourism industry into the development and the humanitarian sector? You know, this is something that not many people have thought about it, but there is a huge opportunity if you could bring the tourism sector, development sector, and the humanitarian sector together. So this is the whole sum of what we've been doing now. Like, we are a tour operator, but we are also repurposing our business to be first responders. You know, so when there is a crisis happen, we are there because we have our boats, we have our kayaks, we have our skilled volunteers, and we move in. We are there much before the local panchayat would come, because much before the municipality comes, much before the state government comes. Forget about international agencies, because as a travel company, especially those people who work in community-based tourism, we are there in the field with the people all the time, you know. So it's a very powerful tool, underutilized, even by the tourism sector. We don't, most of my peers wouldn't even realize the potential on which we are sitting. Forget about the humanitarian sector. So I'll summarize this. In this whole examples that I showed you, I don't want to cross my 10-15 minutes time. That's why I'm just concluding it. In all the examples that I showed you, the most common theme for me is that if you want to make a change in the community, it has to be through crowdsourcing, because one person alone or one company alone, one team alone cannot make the impact. If you want to do a long journey, you need to crowdsource. You need 10-20,000 ideas coming together and you work together. The other one is just please network and collaborate with like-minded people. And sometimes you will have to work with even not like-minded people, but that diversity is what's going to make things happen. And the last but not the least is co-create. Don't go crazy about that, your ego, I want to do stuff my own, but please work together. Let the UN agencies come down to grassroots level, you know, go beyond organizing webinars, work in the ground with communities, because this is a good job that you are doing. But what I'm saying is get down in field with us, you know, let the UNDRR not just sit there in Geneva, but come down here to the ground and learn from the global south. There is enormous amount of crazy innovation that's happening in the field. So that's basically what I want to give you as my input into this, in the sense of work together, collaborate. This creates, and don't just out of passion keep on talking about climate change, unless and otherwise you can clearly show an opportunity for people, youngsters, to make a living of this crisis. Nobody is going to seriously take you. So give practical solutions to people, engage them. The time for hypothesis and theory is long gone, because literally the shit has hit the ceiling. So now I will shut up. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely an honor to listen to you, because I think we also have fellow Mallus here, myself, Reshma, Nitin, and also a few Malayali participants are looking at what has happened and how it has affected us, because we were the first-hand viewers of what happened. It was quite interesting. Thank you so much for all the amazing points, and also the social entrepreneurship part, because I'm pretty sure it resonated with a lot of young people here, that they have the chance to make change and they have the opportunity to do it, not just as a person, but also as a young person. We have a couple of questions, but I'm just going to take one or two in the interest of time, and then we can move to the panel discussion later, where more questions will come in. One of the questions that we got was, your beginning is from volunteering. And young people here want to know, what is the importance of that, or how has that particular process, not necessarily in a climate environment, but how has volunteering helped you start? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have a black and white clear-cut answer to that. Like, I can only tell you about how I ended up volunteering and how I encourage people to volunteer. Like, similar to how I see my business is a solution provider to a lot of problems that I see around. How can I use that as a tool to bring in solutions is how I look at the enterprise. But now as an individual, I am somebody who constantly think about how can I make a difference as an individual to the world that I am part of. It's easy to keep complaining that things are not working. Can you try to put your, be in somebody else's shoes? Can you think about how a district magistrate or a collector might be trying to do a lot of stuff, but things are not working? Why are those things working? So it's only when you join those people that you get a sense of being part of the solution. So volunteering is one of the best way to do it. But for quite a lot of people, I understand that they do always. I do remember hearing a question earlier that I am coming from an underprivileged background, so how can I afford to volunteer? This is not about spending money or making money. Like, it's about sparing one little time. It might be one small thing. It might be about animal rescue. It might be about creating a pet-friendly destination. It might be about giving, as a volunteer, if you go into a palliative care center, you actually don't even need to do anything sometimes. Just giving that 1 hour to somebody who is chronically ill to listen to you. Or the other way around, if you could give your ears for them to talk to you, that changes somebody's life because they are getting attention. So it doesn't need to be rocket science, but simple things where you think that you can add value. Because in volunteering, what I have come across is that it's not necessarily all the time that you as an individual contributing to the society. It's actually the volunteering contributes a lot onto you as an individual because you are growing, your horizon is just expanding.
As somebody who's volunteered for more than a year, I can definitely say it has given me a lot of purpose as a person. And we have one more question. Your background is in disaster management, and now there's tourism as well. Do you see the scope of growth for young people there? And if there is a scope that you see, can you name a few things that young people can focus on, or right after this episode, go search up and learn more about?
Young people or older people or anybody do not have much an option of ignoring what is happening around. Right? So we have reached a stage where we have to figure out how to live with the crisis. Like when the floods in Kerala happened, it was a surprise for a lot of people, but those people who are observing what's happening around the world, they were not surprised. Like in 2010, for example, the Blue Yonder, along with a couple of local farming-based cooperative, we were preparing something called Climate Change Resistant Food Initiative. So these are all opportunities. These are all opportunities for youngsters or anybody to create wealth, to find solutions and make a living off it as well. You don't need to necessarily live in a situation right now where you need to be dependent on salary from somebody, because the maximum number of crises that's happening with increased frequency, these are all opportunities for you to find solution and actually make a living with it, living with dignity,
Yep. Thank you so much, Mr. Gopinath. That was absolutely amazing and very, very interesting and exciting as well. Thank you for your time. And up next we have another interesting, exciting speaker, Ms. Priya Pillai. Priya is an interesting human being, and her record is very, very interesting as well. Just to give you a short idea, Priya has worked on environmental and social justice issues for more than 20 years. She works closely with grassroots movements and non-governmental organizations that focus on climate and energy, the right to food, gender equality, and forest rights. She's worked with Greenpeace, the Right to Food Campaign, ActionAid, and Oxfam. Priya has a background in law and is currently doing her PhD on the socio-ecological impact of large-scale renewable energy from the University of Technology, Sydney. Priya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you so much. Let me try sharing my screen. Are you able to see?
No, Priya.
1 second. Okay. Mia, do you want to just share it? Because I think I'm not able to share it for some reason.
I can try sharing it from my
Yeah.
end.
So meanwhile, as Nitin basically projects the screen for me, thank you so much, Nitin. I'll start very briefly with my journey. I think my journey has been a journey of de-learning. It's been a journey of unlearning. And why I say my journey has been a journey of de-learning and unlearning is because being born and brought up in a city and in a middle class environment, for me, going and working among communities, especially marginalized communities and indigenous groups and tribal communities in the central Indian belt, was a big journey of unlearning a lot of things that has been historically taught, whether it's been the books that we read, whether it's been the movies that we've seen, whether it's been the conversations that we've had from childhood. There was a certain set of there's a certain mindset that's put into your head on everything, including patriarchy, including the way we see development, the way we see this planet, and growth, basically. So for me, I think my journey was more of a journey to unlearn the things I had learned. And the teachers were a large number of people, and mostly I think more than experts and think tanks. Of course, they were there, and academicians. It was more learning from people in everyday life, communities who live in the Mahan region. You can see this screen. That's a central Indian belt that's projected in that map. I've been working in that belt for a large part of my career. In Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, Maharashtra. And that's also the belt where there is a lot of overlap of forests, of indigenous communities living there, as well as a lot of minerals. And hence, a lot of mining. Actually, all kinds of extractive industries exist there, whether it's steel, whether it's bauxite. I specifically worked on coal mining for around 9 years in the Singrauli district of Madhya Pradesh, and basically fighting against a proposed mine that would displace a large number of people across 1,182 hectares of forest land. And basically, my journey included, facilitating or enabling or working with these communities, and enabling that the leadership of these communities to fight against the proposed mine, which meant displacement on a large scale. 54 villages were to be displaced, and there were multiple villages whose community members whose lives and livelihoods depended on the forests that would be cut down for coal mining. So I think there was a lot to learn, not just in terms of impacts of climate on individuals and their lives, but also in terms of solutions. There was an entire set of solutions out there. There was a lot of indigenous knowledge out there of coexisting with nature, of using, of taking resources as much as you need, but not based on your greed. There were lifestyle choices that one saw there, which was very low carbon intensive, which was totally new to me in as a person who's been living in city, leading a more carbon intensive life. So I think there were lots of things to learn, and I'm always grateful for that unlearning journey that I could go on in Mahan, especially working with the tribal communities there. Yeah, so moving on to what I was supposed to talk on today, the next slide. I'm going to try to give you a very broad overview of the renewable energy sector. So having worked in the fossil fuel sector for the longest time, which is the problem side of the whole climate thing, we all know that the fossil fuel sector, especially energy being one of the major contributors to climate change, has been always a big issue. And for majority of my life, I've been working with with issues around energy and fossil fuel based energy and the problems of fossil fuel based energy, and have been advocating for renewables as a solution, basically. And by renewables, I mean solar, wind, combinations of biomass and stuff like that. And we have seen in recent years that renewables has been touted as the major, thing that could act, has the potential to change emissions basically, or to reduce carbon emissions. And in that sense, the renewable energy sector has a lot of potential as well. And we will see a huge shift. So in the backdrop of the whole capitalist system, we see that the system is basically hinged on or rested on fossil fuel as a sector. And we can see the system is making a shift. The very people who are players in the fossil fuel sector are now moving to renewable energy, interestingly. And there is a huge job potential there in the renewable energy sector. We know that a small scale plant of less than 1 megawatt can actually support 58 workers, and a medium size plant, a renewable energy solar plant, basically of all around 10 megawatts, can employ 45 people directly. And then there are indirectly people. Can you go on to the next slide, Nitin? So I will skip some of these slides because this is more to do with the large scale renewable energy job potential. This again is a slide that kind of throws some light on the jobs that the RD sector could account for. It's the International Renewable Energy Association basically says that, that the RE sector could account for more than 38 million jobs globally by 2030 and 43 million jobs by 2050. And this is basically in the backdrop of if we are going pathway of 1.5 degrees compared. Again, if you look at the RE sector, it currently employs around 12 million people directly. And this is basically 2020 figures. And there is, if you look at this graph, it shows how, the renewable energy sector has increased employing people from 2012 to 2020 over a period of years. And yeah, the next slide. Nitin, can you go to the next one? So this is made of jobs that could be created again. Yeah, so this again is basically what is the human resource requirement, the previous one. Basically, what is the human resource requirement? We can see that there are multiple kinds of, job opportunities there for people who are engaged in science and engineering and that. So there are technical jobs involved there. There are administrative jobs involved there. There are also jobs for people who are not technically qualified, who are semi-skilled. So there are a wide range of jobs that open up in the renewable energy industry, both in solar as well as in wind. And that is an area that is going to really catch up in the coming years. So whether it's for engineers, whether it's for semi-skilled people, there is this whole arena of new jobs that are going to happen. And there's also, if you look at it, the next slide, Nitin, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so this is the Skill Development Council of India. So the government of India has set up the Skill Development Council, wherein basically foreseeing the fact that we need to upskill people, we need to reskill people, and we need to build a new set of skills for people so that they can take up these jobs. So there is this whole council that's been set up, which is working and and running, and they've been skilling people at multiple levels, at city levels, with working with STEM students, working with rural people. We know that there are other initiatives, like if you look at the Barefoot College in Thilonia, they've trained young women who are semi-literate or illiterate women to actually work on solar rooftop. They repair solar rooftop, so they are able to kind of go and do the maintenance of solar rooftop, solar panels and stuff like that. So there are lots of initiatives like this that's already started in the country, where there's been a lot of upskilling, and most of this will actually, you will see, is go this skill council will also, for green jobs, is also going to kind of look at the entire young people who are going to be upskilled for this purpose. But I'd like to, so that was all of this that I shared till now will mostly be, I think, absorbed into, the large scale renewable energy sector. I want to focus more on the decentralized renewable energy sector. Nitin, can you just go to the next slide? So why the focus on decentralized renewable energy powered livelihoods is because we all know that if you look at the geographies in which renewables are going to grow. So currently, if you look at it, there is the Central Indian Belt. And then that's where all the jobs are, because it's fossil fuel dependent in the energy sector. So it's the 5 states that I said and a bit of northeastern part of the country that mostly employs people in the power sector or the energy sector. When we have renewables coming in a big way, this geography is going to totally change. And we are going to see another geography where jobs are going to be created. So Nitin, can you go to the next slide? So if you look at this slide, basically, I'm showing you these 2 maps. One is basically the wind current capacity on the right, basically with the brown thing, is basically shows the wind capacity. And if you look at it, the western part of the country is where all the wind capacity is. Again, if you look at the solar potential, the one with the blue thing, if you look at it, again, if you look at it, it's the western part of the country where there is more potential for solar and renewable growth, actually. So the geographies in which fossil fuel operated and the geography in which renewables is going to kind of come up are 2 different geographies. On one hand, people who are in the fossil fuel sector, engaged in that sector, are going to lose jobs in a big way, which is the belt that I spoke about. It includes Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, West Bengal, parts of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. All this is basically the fossil fuel belt. And here is where there's going to be a huge job loss. Whereas the jobs that are going to be created is going to be created in the western part of the country with the growth of renewables. So large scale renewables, I mean to say. So that's one thing I want to put on the table. The other thing is, during the pandemic, we saw that that there was a phenomenon of reverse migration. So before the pandemic, we've seen people migrating from rural areas coming into the cities, basically nearby cities, in search of job and works. But post the pandemic, we have seen a reverse migration pattern where people have migrated back into the rural areas because the cities cannot cater to their employment needs, or the cities are not enough for them to generate employment. So they're moving back to things. This brings us to the fact that we need to invest in a big way in building opportunities and options of employment and economic income, based options need to come where they need to come in the rural areas. And what is the kind of option that will come there? The kind of options that come there in the rural area will be based on natural resources like forest, water, or coastal areas where fisheries is an important thing. Again, agriculture is going to be a mainstay. These are all the areas into which we have to concentrate, and these are the sectors in which most number of people are currently employed and will continue to be employed. And how do we deploy renewable energy, that is decentralized renewable energy, into these sectors in rural areas to empower people to take up jobs there, basically? So or to take up or increase the their income. That is something that we should as a focus. So the decentralized potential, basically renewable energy potential, is huge in this country, because we have seen that the more we enable decentralized renewable energy sector growth in the rural areas, it will help economic growth, it will help improve livelihoods and income generation there. Again, we have seen that studies clearly show that despite the pandemic disruption, basically 62% of DRE enterprises or enterprises reported financial growth. And this was basically, according to Shakti Foundation report, this was basically this was basically 17% increase from the previous year's growth, of decentralized renewable energy supported enterprises. Again, there is a huge role that decentralized renewable energy plays in sectors like agriculture, food processing, textiles, cold storages, and other things, again, fisheries and all of this. And this is very closely connected to climate resilience building. When we talk about climate change, there are 2-3 things that are very important. One is, of course, mitigation, which is reduction of emissions, but equally or more important is adaptation and resilience building. Because an adaptation and resilience building happens on the ground. It's communities who adapt. It's the resilience of the communities and people living in forested areas, people who practice agriculture, people who are engaged in textiles, people who are doing, value-added, services like fruit processing. Or these are the people, whose resilience need to be built, because they are the ones who contribute the least to the whole issue of climate change, but are affected most by the issue, by this thing. And their resilience building is an important part of our fight against climate change. So adaptation and resilience building is a very key component of our climate fight. And when we talk about these two things, DRE becomes very important. How can small enterprises help communities cope with climate change and increase their resilience by actually increasing their options on income generation and livelihoods? And that's an area where government departments, civil societies, and all relevant stakeholders need to kind of come together and work in. The next one.
Priya,
So
maybe, just getting in here. Maybe you can do it a little faster and in the interest of time, because I think you have some cool questions to answer as well.
Yeah, so some examples of DRE powered livelihood options are here. You can see them. I'll share this presentation with you. You can go through them in detail, basically. The next slide. Okay, so basically, if you look at it, what we are saying is when we are talking about, decentralized renewable energy thing, there is a gender disparity that you see in jobs, which can be addressed. Women can become leaders in this whole aspect of using DRE to power livelihoods. Similarly, skilling and reskilling of local communities on the ground is an important component. Youth from villages can be skilled and reskilled in this whole process, where DRE powered livelihoods become a major chunk of their income and their empowerment. Again, in SHGs and wherever there are these livelihood models being set up, there's a lot of scope for accountants, social media influencers to come in and basically talk about these models that are operating on the ground. There's a huge area of market linkage, where people can help, because when we talk about things being produced locally and it being marketed locally as well as in the nearby cities, there is an entire market linkage thing that is there. There is an entire maintenance service, that can be people or young people can be trained in, and we are seeing. And most of it, I think, will happen in the rural areas, in the villages, with youth playing a very, very important role in this whole scheme of things. So yeah, I'll stop there. The two things that I want to conclude by saying is that in this whole scheme of things, what is important is we need to build resilience and adaptation capacity on the ground, which will come through basically decentralized powered livelihoods and options on the ground. what I want to say is that solutions are there. Solutions are out there. It's just about scaling them up. It's just about people taking it on. It's about, more people talking about it. It is about collaborating, coexisting, and enabling communities to empower. And our fight against climate change is all about basically building resilience in communities and helping them adapt to climate change.
Thank you so much, Priya. We have one interesting question for you. I think it might be a question that a lot of people have. I'm going to take up one question and we can do the rest in the panel discussion if that's okay. Are there jobs available for doctors and people who are in the biomedical professions in renewable energy sector?
I think not specifically in the renewable energy sector, but definitely in the climate change sphere. Because if you look at, if you look at the pandemic, we've seen how climate change has exacerbated the whole zoonotic diseases, whether it's been Nipah in Kerala or COVID. So I think the coming years are going to see a surge in all kinds. Even if you look at the issue of air pollution, for example, there are which is a major cause. Again, the root cause is coal-based emissions, which lead to air pollution. I think in all these frames, health is an important sector. We will see a lot of people being employed or having to step up and take more responsibilities and have we have to kind of have more interesting jobs in the health sector, which goes beyond just doctors. I think we've seen how our primary health system was totally swamped when the COVID came. So I think health is an important sector which will need a lot of investment, and that's an opportunity for health professionals and people working in the health sector to step up. So there is definitely an opportunity there with climate change.
Yeah, and then we can one more question. Do you have any resources that for young people here regarding remote or online internships, especially in accountancy and other fields that you just spoke about?
I think there are organizations who are trying these models on the ground, like Selco or CEW, who have been trying to basically set up these models on the ground with SHGs, women SHGs, and other kinds of groups. There's always opportunity to intern with them because they're always in need of support of people who can actually go to these far from rural areas where they are setting up these models to help them help women groups learn accounting, themselves do the bookkeeping for them. So there are those opportunities of internship in these organizations wherein they are trying out a lot of decentralized models on the ground, basically.
Yeah, thank you so much, Priya. That was absolutely amazing. We had a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Up next, we'll have a poll. Nitin here will let you know more about what's going to happen.
Hello, everyone. So I have launched a poll just to gauge. I know it has been a continuous 2-hour session with a lot of technical inputs as well as a lot of things that you might not be so familiar with. So we have, just to gauge your interest and to get the feedback from you, we have a very big group in the audience. So you would be able to access this poll on the chat itself. And yeah, people have already started answering the questions. That is really, really nice. I can see more than 150 people participated, more than 30-40%. After this poll, we will have a short panel discussion where we will take up more questions, and all our panelists will be available throughout this discussion. And also we will share the presentations and other resources that our speakers were mentioning to you in a compiled document to your email IDs. And we will keep this group live, and we have a Google group which will be kind of adding all the participants who have indicated their willingness to join that Google group. And we will be sharing the resources, we will be sharing opportunities, we will be sharing all the upcoming such events and paid internship opportunities over that Google group. And we try to like enlarge or like build that network beyond whatever we have. So I think now 60% of the total participants have already participated in the poll. Since we are little lagging behind the time, actually scheduled time, and we have an interesting, very interesting presentation coming up by Anand on how to effectively use these networking platforms like LinkedIn, other social media platforms for professional networking and for kind of professional scaling up of our career journey. So I don't want to kind of lose any of his time. Maybe we will close this poll once we get 70 or 75% of participation from all of you. Right now it's at 65%. I'll wait for 1 more minute and then we'll close this poll. I think we have like very positive feedback from you all till now for the questions that I have asked. I don't see any major concerns, but I hope the Hindi translation was useful this week. We will have more, we will incorporate all your feedback and suggestions in the coming 2 sessions as well. Maybe I'll stop this poll here and hand it over to, we will have a short panel discussion following this poll. Yeah, we have 70% of the total participants responding to this. One last announcement, we will be sharing a feedback form link, which is very mandatory for your participation certificate. Only 70% of the total participants last week filled the feedback form. So you'll have to fill that feedback form for getting your participation certificate. We will share that link soon. Okay, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Requesting all our panelists to turn on their videos so our participants can see them. Thank you so much, Mr. Nishant, Ms. Priya, Professor Hossein. If you guys could also turn on your video, that would be amazing. Yeah, thank you. All right, so because we have 2 people who have already turned on their video, maybe I can start. Okay. Dr. Hossein, the first question is for you. You've been you've helped us understand more about your work, which has like a national approach and also grassroots approach. So we'd like to know more about the sustainability and the long-term impact of your work, and how young people can look forward to work like that.
That is a very good question. I think ultimately whatever is being done by the governments or by the various groups, NGOs put together, everybody is trying to understand what are the implications of climate change in future and what kind of adaptation options can be put together for enhancing the resilience of the stakeholders and the communities. Mm-hmm. That is a very, very difficult question. It's not straightforward because I feel let's talk with respect to water for the time being, which is the most important resource and which is going to be impacted in different ways. In general, what is coming out of the analysis is that in majority of the areas, the number of rainy days are going to be reduced. Means, and the amount of water will still be equal to what we are getting as a rain with all the variabilities. It might increase, which means it has very big implication in terms of that you will have distribution of rainfall during the monsoon, which is not going to be the similar as we have been seeing earlier. Now see from the angle that 60% of your area is still rain-fed agriculture. Now if the distribution goes haywire, then that rain-fed agriculture is not going to be feasible because the gap between the 2 rainfalls, which are natural input to the soil, increases, then the crop won't be able to sustain that, which means that you need to have more supplementary storages for supplementary irrigation, which is going to be a huge investment. Yeah. you have a huge implication which is not visible as of now. And also because of temperature, your growth period of the crops is going to be different. It's going to have shortened growth period because of the high radiation and the high temperatures. This is one example. Then secondly, your chances of getting bigger floods is going to increase. You're going to have more frequent floods. So as an implication, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to analyze which are the areas which are susceptible to higher floods, what you need to do. So when you want to take action, as Priya was saying, that the action has to be always local. So if you are trying to save some areas in urban areas, which is going to be inundated, after identifying that which are the areas which are going to be inundated for a specific rainstorm, you have to address those issues, that what can be done to reduce the flooding, duration of the flooding, as well as the depth of inundation. Now, this kind of analysis is possible. We have been doing for some of the cities. For example, Delhi and Calcutta, we have simulated the whole city. And we know exactly that, knowing the drainage system of those areas, how much, if a rainfall of a specific intensity comes, which are the areas which are going to be inundated, because you have paved areas more, the runoff coefficient, that means the same rainfall is going to produce much more runoff volume, which was not there earlier.
Yeah.
So you have double whammy. You have the same drainage infrastructure, and it's going to take much more time to evacuate the area naturally. So there are many such situations, and also we need to analyze areas with respect to the flooding, which are we call it the floodplain zoning. Many times people get flooded because they don't know where they are sitting, where they are having their properties. That is quite susceptible to flooding. They don't have any knowledge. So it's for the government to really come out with the information that a specific return period of flood, which is the area which should get inundated, and you shouldn't allow any construction in those areas. That is a policy issue.
Yeah.
Likewise, there is a very complicated thing, but what I'm saying is that the information which we are generating can be used in various ways to really understand what are the good adaptation options which are sustainable.
Yeah.
For example, when we say that the water is a resource which is finite resource, we need to know how much of demand we have already imposed with respect to the basin, because basin is an area where we can compute all these water balances.
Yeah.
And unless you bring down your demand below the availability, it's not going to be sustainable. That is the first thumb rule.
Yeah.
So to analyze all our basins, which we are doing, to know that how much demand we already impose. If the demand has gone beyond the availability, you have to manage the demand. You have to reduce the demand. Okay.
Yeah. Wow, that's just a lot to take in, because it's just a wow moment. I'm going to say that. I mean, I also have to, something that I notice is there's a lot of scope, because we need a lot of planning to move forward in life with climate change. In terms of speaking of agriculture as well, in India, lots of people are dependent on agriculture. So we need to change our cropping style. We need to change the way we live. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. A lot of things. So for young people as well, there's lots of scope in this area. And it's a little scary, to be honest, because we are going to see unprecedented change. Lots of new things are going to happen. And I have to say, as a young person, as an Indian, I'm quite proud and honored to have your service, because this is huge. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to pass it to Mr. Nishant. We got some interesting queries. I'm going to touch on your volunteering first. That's where you started. That's every motivation for you. And then you had a huge career shift as well. So what were your preparations, and how did what you expected and what came true? Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So the thing is that when I was working, I got in touch with the WWF India to volunteer for this volunteer movie making project. because I was from the visual communication background. It was an easy shift for me. But what I didn't expect was the timing, because I, as a working in a news channel, I do have random shifts. There will be night shifts, morning shifts, etc. And along with that, to go for shoot for this volunteering work and to be part of editing and all the other post production work took a little bit of hassle. I mean, I just have to juggle with many things. And that is when actually I came to know that there are certain qualities in me that I could contribute to the proper communication regarding nature. But at the same time, my work is not at par. I mean, in the sense, time wise for me. And as I told you, there are 4 T's that I told about: trust, think, and the other 2 is mainly timing, and the last one that is quite important is thought. That is in the sense, the idea, the passion that you have, you are about, I mean, you think about. So when I came to know that, yes, it is the time for me to make a change, first I need to get trust from my family members, because they are, my work supports them. So I need to build up. It was not a change suddenly. It took me nearly 1 year to think about it, talk about it, and see how the way it is. So from nature, one thing that I came to know is that by connect with nature, maybe you will not turn into a super person, but yes, it will avoid you to become a sick person or a depressed person if you are going in the other way around. Because definitely the work pressure has an important change in your mental capacity.
Yeah.
And nowadays, since we are connected to the gadgets, most of the time we are with gadgets, lot of the body ailments that we have right now is connected to that only. So even when you use birding, you are lifting your neck up. That itself is a good exercise in a way, because you are all the time looking at the phone and your neck is in a very difficult angle, which nowadays people say, but yes, it is. So certain small things made me think that I have to make change in career. So I had to look at the finances, I had to look at the trust space, and finally, later on, it came to me that the factor that yes, all these things need to be done with the, sorry for that interruption. Actually, the thing that I need to do is that, yes, these are things to be sorted out. And definitely when I go for such work, there will be, I mean, I have been in work for 15 years. So you're going to a new field, even though I have a experience in communication. So I kept that communication background. But what I didn't guess was this pandemic crisis, and it completely changed my way of thought, and I had to adapt. That's why I started taking writing seriously. And I did have material, because I was traveling for 1 year from, in the sense from Ladakh to nearly Karnataka. So I tried to connect that thoughts and with people using prose and poetry. So the thing is that you have to find ways to adapt also. You have to find ways to train yourself. You have to keep people in trust. And every time, like every year in a job, you have an appraisal. You have an appraisal for yourself also. What did I do every year? That needs to be there. Otherwise, there will be no momentum. So each year when I look at it, I started as a volunteer. Then later on, I became a photographer. I got acclamation for various photography. Then later on, I became writing. Now I am doing presenting. Then I am doing communication. So there is improvement, slow and steady improvement. So that's why time is important. You have to trust nature. You have to trust time. And that is what my request to you too. But because youth already have time right now, they have access to library. They have access to teachers. They have access to mentors. So they don't have these initial glitches that I faced when I took it in a midlife. And age is also a big factor. So that's what I say.
I have to cut you now, Mr. Nishant, but there was like lots of interesting information.
Thank
you. Ms. Priya, the last question is for you. And this is quite an interesting question as well, if you're here with us. this is very specific for you. Could you please elaborate what are the job opportunities for energy audit managers for energy efficiency?
Yes, so energy auditors play an important role in the whole renewable energy sector, because when we talk about setting up renewable energy, especially even in individual households, when we talk about the solar rooftop, model, one of the prerequisites or one of the things that we need to do before that is basically do an energy audit of that household to assess how much energy usage is there. And bring down your energy. So just because it's renewables, and there's this concept that renewables, shifting to renewables is just the thing, and it's just because it's renewables, it's not like it's zero carbon, right? The whole thing from production of panels to transportation to installations, renewable solar, like even if you look at solar photovoltaics, it's not a zero carbon thing. It has a carbon cost attached to it. So when we say we want to shift to renewables, it goes hand in hand with energy conservation, and that's where basically energy audit comes into being. You need to kind of in like, for example, in Kerala, there's a model in a village called Perinjanam, where they have powered 886 houses with solar rooftop, and each of the households just produce energy enough to use for themselves, and the rest is uploaded to the grid. It's a grid connected system. Now the first step in all these thing is to have an energy audit, see how much energy usage is there, and then look at how much can be conserved by efficiency. Like efficiency means you have to look at the efficiency of the appliances that you use. Like for example, a normal fan as opposed to a normal fan, a BLDC fan is more energy efficient. So lights, similarly, all appliances, there is an energy efficiency quotient attached to it. So basically, energy auditors have a huge role to play in the renewable energy sector, and this whole transition from fossil fuel to renewable energy, I think. And especially when we talk about this, I'm talking about it in the frame of decentralized renewable energy, solar rooftops. There's a huge potential out there.
Yeah, thank you so much. In the interest of time, we'll have to stop now. But it's absolutely amazing to see how there are so many different fields and so many interesting ideas and studies going all simultaneously, and how there's so much scope for growth as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Nitin, if you can share your screen, let's move to the next speaker. Let me introduce to you all Mr. Anand. Mr. Anand is a BTech and MBA and carries 11 years of work experience. He has worked for Infosys, Accenture, Genpact in various capacities, and currently works as a freelance corporate trainer and a storyteller. He has been associated with TCS Youth Employment Program for about 2 years. He's a native of Jaipur in Rajasthan and also runs an NGO named Muktidara in the field of rehabilitation and employment for nomadic tribes in Aravalli region. Mr. Anand, the floor is yours.
Good morning and thank you. Please confirm if I'm audible and visible.
Yep, you're both audible and visible.
Ladies and gentlemen, I read one question in the chat section a while ago, and it said, is English required to succeed in corporate career? Well, the answer is obvious, yes, but here is a little tidbit about myself beyond an impressive introduction, very kindly Mia read out about me. In addition to that, I come from a Hindi medium. I have studied, graduated, schooling, and most of my BTech, which was supposed to be in English. Teachers taught in Hindi in classroom. That's a different matter. So when I joined 11 years back, my first company, I had a challenge. And in my mind, it used to be all about, if I have to become successful in career, English is the key. Much later, I understood it is not English, it is communication. And much later, I understood it is not exactly communication alone. It is networking with the right people, speaking in their tongue, and then becoming successful. So on that note, allow me to share my presentation, short presentation, interesting one, don't worry. This is all about networking in today's world that's required for professionals like you. All of you, be it a fresher, be it a student, be it a a successful corporate personality already, be it an entrepreneur, be it an expert, an academician, a researcher, anyone. Networking with the right people today is an absolute must. This entire session is a series of interconnected 4 episodes. In the previous episode, my colleague from TCS Youth Employability Program, Mr. Bhaskar, covered how to make a resume and cover letter, an impressive one, and what is the importance of certifications, etc. Today, to continue with that, if you have already made a resume, how you can use it to network online. Let's use that. But first of all, the elephant in the room, why exactly networking is required? It's required because of, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, these 4 parameters. The number 1 is upskilling. It is said that you are an average of the 5 people you are surrounded with. Don't you agree? Yeah. So if the 5 people you are surrounded with are better than you, of course, your average improvement is going to be better. That has been my career goal, my mantra for last decade or so. And if you are surrounded, not just in terms of people, but in terms of your reading habits, internet surfing habits, the kind of content you read, learn, maybe a few websites that you frequently watch. If you are watching the right kind of upskilling website, I will give you a glimpse very soon, then you are networking with the right kind of tools and softwares and systems. In terms of exposure, if you are making a name for yourself using your social media, the right kind of social media, well, you are letting the world know about you. And if you are making good progress, counting that progress on your various profiles, we will name some, you are creating, my dear boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, a good brand reputation about yourself. It is all about brand building. In Hindi, as they say, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. What can be seen can be sold successfully. And finally, for many of you, the end result, why exactly are we networking? To land at the right employment opportunity. It is about that job, and not just the first job. 5 years later, 10 years later, your second, third, 20th job. You simply want to excel in your career. So let's begin with what are the platforms available for upskilling. I'm sure you must have heard some of these names. And if you have any queries, do drop in the Q&As. We will pick them up. Don't hold on them. Just write them. We will definitely cover them. You must have heard some of these names: Coursera, Unacademy, Udemy, Upgrad, Skillshare, many more. All of them have different usabilities, types of curriculums they have, the types of partnerships with universities they have, and many of their courses are recognized by employers, HRs, on your resume. Some of them even offer free courses. I'm not going to talk about them today. I'm going to sell you a brilliant repository of free courses provided by TCS itself. Make a registration on TCS IN website and enjoy many of these free courses. Some of them are here for your use. And this is industry-wide recognized courses. Just have a quick 5-second glance on them. And there are 20, 30 types of them, different domains and streams available for, including GST in 90 minutes, accounting fundamentals, many of them. Now, to make the right kind of exposure, we go about social media. And on social media, depending on whether we are in China or outside, we have these popular ones. I'm sure many of you are on YouTube and Instagram and WhatsApp, etc. But for being recognized, to expose yourself to the right employers, the favorite social media platform for recruiters is LinkedIn. Yeah. And it has 800 million plus serious people about careers and jobs and domains and learnings. In addition to LinkedIn, for your hobbies, for your interests, if you are, as my previous speakers mentioned about activism and environment conservatism, wildlife preservation, all these common causes, and maybe for traveling to a hill station to get into the right kind of hobbies like photography, public speaking, many things. Just go to Meetup, share your interest, and you will get opportunities of different people, like-minded people gathering in a same city. And you can join them physically or virtually. And that's how Meetup works. Additionally, for people who are into business field, entrepreneurs, looking for ideas, fundings, mentoring, guidance, angel investment, BNI is a paid platform. Remember the word paid. To join BNI, of course, just like Rotary, Lions, Rotaract, for social service and entrepreneurship, these are some of the paid platforms which might be useful for you at a later stage in your career. Then there is this one, which has helped me improve, a Hindi medium guy, master communication, storytelling, and in fact, leave my corporate career behind and become a trainer, a facilitator, an educator, and a storyteller. So Toastmasters International is one of that platform where you can definitely go to any online or offline platform or a club of Toastmasters in your nearest city. Just go to toastmasters.org, click on find a club, enter your location, place your range, and many different criteria, and you will get the right place. Anyway, this is one place where anyone can join, attend freely, take participation, but to become a member, of course, this is also a paid platform. But one platform that is free of cost, and I come back to it again, LinkedIn. How brilliant this platform is, let me give you, tell you the power of this platform with a true story of one of my students of Youth Employability Program in TCS. I'm so sorry if my Hindi translator is having a little difficulty in translating because I'm going so fast. So feel free to translate in an easy language. Here is the true story of Preeti Divakar. Last year, during pandemic, I trained her in the batch of University of Allahabad, virtually, online. I was in my home city, Jaipur. She was a native of Haryana, living in Allahabad, connected online on Zoom, just like today. A whole 1.5 month of batch, and she was waiting for her recruitment process to begin, but immediately pandemic struck and we were all under lockdown. While many of us felt dejected, hey, nothing can happen now, what to do, etc., etc. Ab kya kare? This girl did something smart. She started making small investment in the stock market and started learning, capturing her learning on YouTube channel. She started a YouTube channel sitting on the roof in the winters with a background of a peepal tree. And she just opened up on her hesitation of camera. Not just that, she counted it on social media and marked it as her experience as a YouTuber, an investor. Not just that, she also, along the way, came upon some certifications, some free certifications, which she can show credential or certificate for. Not to mention, she also counted her TCSIN courses, and this is not the training certification, this is a free certification on the TCSIN website I just showed you. Looking at her LinkedIn profile, and not through my recommendation, TCS recruited her. You know, one of the reasons was networking. Not just all these, but if you go to her profile, as many serious candidates do, they network with the right people. This is her profile, a snapshot of the people she is connected on LinkedIn with. She has never met them, but that strengthens your credibility. All the CEOs, CFOs, CXOs, founders, entrepreneurs, people from IT, BFSI sector where she wanted to make a career, HRs of those companies. She connected with them right, left, and center. And as you can see, 500 plus quality connections. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is for employment, the last piece. Naukri.com, you all must have heard. Shine, Monster, Indeed, Hirist, so many new profiles and platforms are coming up. Naukri is my favorite one because it is also, in a way, preferred platform for many of the recruiters and companies. Here is how this platform looks. This is a snapshot of how this profile will look. And you will also get email alerts on daily basis the moment a recruiter shows interest in you. This is my yesterday's profile snapshot. And as a freelance trainer, it's good to be appreciated and desired by so many recruiters. Summarizing all the PPT so far, this is the reason why we should do networking. Sharing my personal story and the benefits that I enjoyed because of networking. Remember, I was a Hindi medium student, and because of my Hindi medium hesitation, I joined the Toastmasters Club in my company at Infosys, and later learned that it is present at many corporate colleges and also many city-based local chapters. I started opening up in front of unknown crowd, strangers, people who I didn't know before. This helped me understand and earn a degree of shamelessness. The more shameless you become in front of people, the more confident you become, because if you have reached a certain level of embarrassment, well, you can only top that. Till that level, it's not going to affect you much. Slowly, I realized my true passion was not in coding and programming. It was in interacting with people. And while during the pandemic, many of the career trainers who started their career as trainers, they struggled. It came to me naturally. It in fact helped me, my network helped me connect with the right recruiters. In fact, this TCS opportunity came from LinkedIn. I have been associated with it for 2 years. And because of the work that I am doing, I am making it popular on my WhatsApp, on my LinkedIn. Furthermore, opportunities are coming. Very recently, I will not name it, one of the IPL sponsor, they reached out to me for their CXO, a one-on-one coaching on MS Excel. And I did that. And I never planned for it. I was just good at it, Excel and PowerPoint. But I never thought maybe this will become a career option for me. So while we today are discussing about green jobs, many renewable or sustainable jobs, well, the world is rapidly changing, my dear friends. The curriculum that you are going through, the courses that you are studying in colleges maybe are not relevant enough for corporate life, but new different skills that you are going to learn and network for are going to make your career. So once again, what exactly are we learning today? Well, networking is useful for these four reasons. And as Porter Gale said, your net worth today is exactly your network. Well, I'm shamelessly utilizing this opportunity to network with all of you. Connect with me on my LinkedIn, my Instagram, and my YouTube channel as well. With that, I hand over to Mia for asking any questions that we may have received.
Thank you so much, Anand. I have to say I had some laughs as well, but it was a really, really interesting presentation. And the response is quite amazing too. So one of the questions that we received, I think many times so many people got back to this, are the certifications that we receive via Corisa, EDX, or any other platform actually valid while we apply for a job?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. Any kind of certificate people these days are putting up. And remember, you are competing with certificates like I got a certificate for drawing in my 3rd class. People put that as well. So the more quality certification you have from a reputed brand, whether free, whether paid, be it Coursera, be it Skillshare, be it, let's say UNICEF, be it, let's say TCS. These recognized brand names carry value, the proof of quality. And so for that reason, any free course on a reputed platform, go for it if it helps you in making a fast stride to your desired career.
Okay. And one more thing, something that came up again was how many platforms do we need to make a profile on? Because we did see quite a lot of
Good question. Good question. I would say do a combination of this. On LinkedIn itself, after making your profile, you can mark it as I'm open to employment. So even if you are employed in one job, your company will not be able to see that, but you can open yourself to other jobs in a city, in a profile, in a package range, etc. Second, Naukri.com, an absolute must. And the third one, other than Naukri, pick either one of them, Monster, Shine, Indeed, etc. But Naukri is a must. Any other is a desired one. And LinkedIn, of course, you can mark as I'm open for it.
Yeah. And again, on LinkedIn as well, we have like constant posts popping up as a creator. So is it necessarily necessary, like, or just to have an account, or do we have to like keep creating posts and stuff?
It helps if you put some quality content on your LinkedIn profile, maybe an article of yourself, your own written article, because if you are not going to appreciate your own thoughts, who will? So on a subject matter, as a personal experience, put it. If even if it's an experience of a job that you applied for, went into interview rounds, got rejected, but what did you learn from that experience? Count it as a written article and write it. More than that, you can curate other articles as well. Richard Branson shared something, Ratan Tata shared something. Forward that on your profile, just like you do on Facebook, Instagram. Why can't we do that the same way on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anand. These were the summed up questions that we received again and again. To all the participants, Nitin and Nirma have shared some messages, including the links. It will help us curate more contents for the next session and also give you, like, take your opinions and then give you a better session as well. With that, we are coming to the end of the second Youth for Mountain series of Green Job Series 2.0. And see you all next week. But please don't forget to fill up the form that Nitin has just put out. Thank you.
We will have the quiz now.
Okay, cool.
Harshita, over to you.
Yeah, hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, Amit Ayush.
Okay, so for those who stuck with us for this long, there's time for you to actually start winning something. So we have a quiz on our hand. Those who have registered on the YouReport India platform through Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp, I'll ask you to just send a keyword. I'll just send the keyword in the message. Please. Okay, so the keyword is GQ1. For whichever platform you registered, you can sign into that. We will select the top 10 reporters who have scored the maximum number and will send out gifts. And also there is another surprise waiting for you, which is a lot bigger than just mere gifts. So that will be available for you after you completed this quiz and the quiz just after this one. So for the next session, and we will announce the final winners and the bumper prize winners at the end of the last session. So you have to stay tuned with us so we can keep you in the loop, show the leaderboards who are winning, who are falling behind, so they can catch up as well. Yeah, and just type GQ1 in your Europort platform and start the quiz, start winning points, and yeah, stick with us for the final results or the last session. Okay, if there is not any questions regarding this quiz, maybe we can I can drop it now.
If there is any questions regarding the like how to participate in the quiz, like I hope the instructions from Amit Ayush is clear. Otherwise, do let us know in the chat. I can see a lot of questions regarding the participation certificate in the chat. So just to inform you that the participation certificate will be given to you after the 4 Saturday series. So it will be after 22nd October. The minimum criteria was to be participate in 3 sessions. So if you have missed the first episode that was held on 24th, and you would like to participate, if you would like to participate in the upcoming sessions, you will get the participation certificate after attending the remaining Saturdays. It will be shared over email, the digital copy. So there are no WhatsApp groups. There will be Google group formed from your interest that you have indicated in the Google form that we have shared for registration purpose. And one more question regarding the attendance. So just to answer that, the feedback form is your attendance form. So we will be sharing the participation certificate to people who completes the feedback form. I hope everything is clear now. I would like to once again thank our speakers for today. It was amazing listening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining in. And we still have more than 400 people on the call, but this quiz can be done on your self speed pace, and we have already overshot time by 15 minutes now. So we'll be closing this call in next 2 minutes. If you don't have any other questions or concerns or like any clarifications that required from our side. So people are requesting the link to the feedback. And those who have already registered for the first or second episode of the series will get the invite for the upcoming sessions. But it would be nice if you can share it with your friends, family members, parents, teachers, your colleagues. They can participate in the upcoming sessions. We will be closing this call in 1 minute. Yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining.